Well, hello, everybody. I'm Louis Amistoy, looking bright and cheery here on this gorgeous Wednesday here in Bakersfield. This is the Bako Motorsports Power Hour, brought to you by the Bakersfield, California. We've been covering racing since the beginning. And if you look over here, basically in our other studio, this would be the Mike Griffith pen. There he is. Mike Griffith is not allowed to be here today, and the BG is in there. We play that again. That was pretty good. That's solid. That's a gorilla noise. Very nice. Oh, very good. So there you go. And Steve Hughes, I see you walking in there. We're joined by Felix Adamo, and Felix Adamo was he was on a vacation with a 200 millimeter lens and a pretty powerful Canon. What is it? Which body were you shooting with on Saturday and Sunday?
No, I had a EOS 5D and a Mark IV. Mark IV.
Okay, we'll talk about that. I'm surprised they let him in the facility with that kind of equipment. But he got some pretty amazing shots from the Superbikes at Laguna Seca over the weekend, which made some news. Unfortunately, Felix did not see this, but the two races were killed. Talk about that in a moment. But let's talk about what we got coming up here. We got Bakersfield Speedway coming up at 11:30, and then this is show 22. By the way, we also can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. We'll post the show here to YouTube after we're done here. The Grumpy Griff Award will be handed out at the end of the show. I'm suspecting that we're going to give the Grumpy Griff Award maybe to Kyle Griffith. I'll talk to Scott Schweitzer at 11:30 when he comes on. 11:15, Kern County Raceway Park is going to be back in action, by the way. We'll talk about that with Stevie Hughes in a minute. Coming December 5th, though, is our special edition of the end of the year, the Power Hour special section. You can get a spot in that now. We're reserving space. There is a great deal on that. I think you can get a full-page ad for $795 if you reserve now. Get in there and sponsor your drivers. Anyway, the All-Area Driving Awards will be announced on December 5th, and that will be in that section as well. Actually, we'll do the announcements on the 3rd, on a Thursday, but we'll talk about that too. Let's talk a little bit about NASCAR. Kyle Busch getting another big win. Kevin Harvick had some problems in the pits late in the race, but Busch with another big win. And that I love the picture of this picture because look at his wife, Felix. I mean, not impressed at all with this gigantic lobster. That's one of those things is like if it looks really cool, but is that good eating still? I don't know. I'm not a lobster expert.
I think he's the same lobster every year.
I think so. They just yank it out and pull it in there. Here you go, buddy. Here you go. Either you can have a clock or a lobster. Great crowd in New Hampshire for that race over the weekend. It was a good weekend for the Bushes. The Bush has been really hot here as of late, and this is the second consecutive win for Kyle. There's Dale Earnhardt Jr. With his day. And just a great scene there all weekend long at I didn't even get a chance to even catch this race live, but there is Earnhardt Jr. and the crew chasing him. Now, they're going to be racing this weekend. There's Casey Mears, by the way. We're going to be racing this weekend at the Brickyard 400. Jeff Gordon's the defending champion there. This is his final Brickyard 400. There's Kevin Harvick, as you mentioned, finishing third. Harvick said later on, by the way, that I think we had the right strategy, just a little miscue on the last pit stop. Those guys have done great all year. They did great today. It took me a little longer to get around a couple of those cars and lost the track position. Quote, I just want to thank everybody for everything they do. We were off on Friday, and we were able to really rebound and have a good Saturday and a good race car today. It's encouraging for 2 months. So the issue was they had a little issue, but Harvick was leading in this race for a big chunk of it, and he passed Joey Logano for third, but could not get in and pass Busch there for this. Harvick was leading the race when NASCAR called the sixth caution at the end on lap 251 because of fluid on the track. And after a slow four-tire stop, Harvick's number 4 Chevrolet was fifth on up pit road and restarted sixth because eventual race winner Kyle Busch stayed out on the seven lap old tires. So he had a real advantage there. Harvick, though, is sitting still first in the Sprint Cup standings. Mears finishes 16th at New Hampshire, one of his better results in recent weeks, still at 20th in the Sprint Cup standings. So Mears continuing to have a good season. As we noted last week, he has re-signed with Germain Racing. So the Brickyard 400 this weekend. They go to Pennsylvania and to Pocono for the Pennsylvania 400 on August 2nd. August 9th, they go to Watkins Glen. And then the Michigan 400 on August 16th, and then back to Bristol on August 22nd. So there's a look at your NASCAR schedule. Xfinity race on Friday. Ryan Reed finishes 13th in New Hampshire. He's still 10th in the Xfinity standings. They race in Indianapolis this weekend in the Lilly Diabetes. I think it's 300. So Ryan Reed, of course, will be one of the featured guys there for that event. All right, we brought in the one and only, the great Felix Adamo, and we were just talking about how John Farron was going through some old files and found your Ducati motorcycle porn. Motorcycles are how big a part of your life are motorcycles? And just so I can identify this, Felix is other than Mike Griffith, is our second most veteran newsroom employee.
Yeah.
36 years with us now?
36 years.
36 years. And you grew up in Bakersfield. He's our chief photographer. But motorcycles have been one of your passions, right?
Yeah, that's how I got started in photography. I just did it as just kind of as a hobby, and I started shooting for freelance for Cycle News back in the 70s. And I covered all the West Coast races for them. So basically, motorcycles got me into photography, which eventually got me a job at the Californian.
But racing and motorsports in general are a huge part of your family, right? And that's something you guys have done. You grew up with, right? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, my brother, he was a professional motorcycle racer, flat track racing, like Ascot Park, San Jose Mile, all the flat track. When flat track was really big back in the 70s and early 80s. And then he went on to race at Bakersfield Speedway. He's a track champion there. And he went to Mesa Marin. Was a 2-time track champion at Mesa Marin. We've all went to all the races and everything.
Right.
Always covered the drags for the Californian. You mentioned the Brickyard 400. We covered the very first Brickyard 400 for the Californian.
Wow.
So yeah.
And you got to go to Indianapolis a few times and cover the Mears days, right?
Yep.
And what was it like to cover those in those days too? I mean, those were the pre-digital days. You had to send your film back. I mean, how challenging was it to shoot those in those days?
Well, you had to limit what you shoot because you had to get with AP to process your film and transmit it back for you. They had like a little office there at the grants, and underneath all the grandstands at Indianapolis Speedway.
Right.
And the photographers never went for the actual race. We always went the week before, a couple of weeks before for qualifying.
Right.
We'd send back a bunch of file stuff what we'd use for the whole, back then it was like a month coverage, I guess.
Right. And you go back there and you'd have to hang out with Griffith for a week or so.
Every good story has its downside.
Let's show a few of these pictures that we have here of this. And so this was Laguna Seca, and you've gone out to the Monterey Bay area a few times now for events out there. And go back to that first one. What are we looking at here in this shot?
Okay, well, first off, all these were shot from the grandstands. I didn't have a press pass.
Right.
So this is Chaz Davies. He's from Wales. He rides a factory Ducati Panigale. And he won Superbike racing. They have 2 races.
Right.
They have a morning race and an afternoon race, and he won both races.
I didn't share all the photos because I thought that'd be intrusive. But I mean, Ducati is a big part of your life. I mean, that's you have one. You have a BMW and a Ducati, right?
Yeah, and a Harley.
And Harley. What is it about Ducati that sets it apart as far as you're concerned? What's the attraction to it?
It's Italian, and I'm Italian.
Easy, very well said and done. Okay, and what are we looking at here?
This here is Josh Hayes. He's an American, and he races in the new Moto America series. And before the series, they had the AMA series. He was like the 4-time national champion. He's a very, very good driver, and he won the first race, and he finished 3rd in the second race that day.
Okay, and we'll keep going through some of this. Now, this one I had to throw in there because obviously this is Cooper, right?
Yeah, that's my youngest son.
Yeah, and so he was pretty happy with this shot.
He liked racing.
He liked it.
He liked going to the races.
He liked going to the races. It was a family affair for you guys, right?
Yeah, my wife got me the tickets for my birthday, so me, my wife Teresa, Zane, Cooper, and Zane's girlfriend Tiffany, we all went to the races.
Nice. Okay. All right. So Cooper, who will be a senior at BHS this year, a fine athlete in his own right, enjoying the scenery there.
That one shot right there, I should say, Cooper shot that shot.
Oh, did he really? Oh, very nice.
He was going back and forth with the camera.
Oh, on this, which one? The previous one?
That one right there.
That one right there. Cooper shot that. Oh, really?
And that shows Chaz Davies in first there, Tom Sykes in second. He finished second. And Jonathan Ray in third.
That's a great shot.
Yeah, it's a very good shot.
And it's cropped a little bit, so I have to apologize, but because there's more guys in the trailing in there. But that's really what you look forward to seeing in the Superbikes is how low those guys go.
Even more so shooting it from the stands over a fence.
There you go. And what are we seeing here? Another Ducati.
That's Chaz Davies after winning the second race of the day. He come right by, and we sat in the turn 4 stands at Laguna Seca. He came by and waving to the crowd, fist pumping, and he's pretty happy.
Yeah.
It was the first time Ducati had swept both races in probably like about 3 or 4 years since Carlos Checa did it.
Okay. And here's some shots from the celebration.
That's when they pulled in the victory lane from the first race. That's Chaz Davies right there in the center. And the guy in the Pirelli hat right to the right, that's Tom Sykes. He rides a Kawasaki.
Okay. And again, more of the celebration there.
Podium celebration.
Very good.
These are the 2 Aprilia riders. For the most part, the World Superbike race, it was kind of boring because the Ducati just ran away with it.
Yeah.
But usually in World Superbike, usually pretty close races. But this is one of the better races in the second race. The 2 Aprilia teammates, that's Jordi Torres up there at the top and Leon Haslam down at the bottom. They went back and forth, side by side. And
all right.
That's the closest race of the day right there.
Right. So, and then you guys, there was 2 riders that were killed Sunday, right?
Yes.
And you guys did not have to see that or anything.
No.
Right? So tell me about that a little bit.
Well, the last Superbike race, we left after the last Superbike race, and it was over with at 3:30. And the second Moto America race, the Superbike Supersport 1000 race, was going to be the last race of the day, and it started at 4:45. So we went ahead and left to beat the traffic out of there, and my son lives 2 miles away from the track. So we was there at the track. I left the track, went to my son's house. We could hear them. About 5 o'clock, we heard them start the race because you hear they're so loud you can hear them. And also, we never really hear anything. I didn't really pay much attention. Then later that day, I was on Facebook checking things, and I seen that 2 guys that got killed in that Moto America race.
Yeah, Bernat Martinez, a 35-year-old from Spain, and Daniel Rivas Fernandez, a 27-year-old rider from Spain.
Yeah, both of them were from Spain.
Were both killed in a multi-bike accident near the start of the second Moto America Superbike Superstock 1000 race. According to the San Jose Mercury News, Martinez and Fernandez apparently were among a group of 5 racers out of more than 2 dozen starting the race who crashed after avoiding another racer whose motorcycle had a mechanical issue. Video of the race shows the bike skidding through a sandy area just after the starting line, with one bike flipping end over end and Bracer's barrel rolling over or sliding before laying motionless. So pretty horrific scene there for that.
It was pretty bad. Motorcycle racing is a brutal sport.
Yeah, is that part of the attraction of it? Is sort of that death-defying? I mean, the lower you get to it, I mean, it's like one miscue and you're on the ground basically.
Yeah, you're just kind of taken back how fast those guys go through there, especially through that area right there. Granted, it's right at the start of the race, but they have a time clock over the bridge there at the start-finish line. I was kind of these Moto America guys. They were doing at that point.
Right.
During the race, they were doing anywhere from 140 to 150 miles an hour.
Wow.
Now, they probably weren't doing that fast at the start, but they're taking off pretty quick. And I guess it's Fernandez, his bike stalled. He put his arm up, and some people didn't see him. They started crashing into each other.
Jeez. How you've had to see this before. I mean, you've been out and covered things at Famoso and Ming Lake back in the day too. And so this is part of the sport though too, right?
It's part of the sport, and I guess that's the guys that race. They know that is part of the sport, and they just keep going. What's
the if you had a racing coverage bucket list, or just as a fan, which ones would you like to see?
I'd always like to see Talladega. I've never seen Talladega.
Right.
I've always wanted to go to Talladega or Bristol.
Okay.
But as far as racing, for best racing I've ever seen has been like the mile motorcycle racing on the flat track.
Right.
It's like 40 lead changes in a 25 lap race, and they're doing 130, 140 on the straights and 90 miles an hour in the turns.
Well, I think we could probably arrange Bristol and Talladega at some point. I still think we can. The problem is, like, every time I talk to Griffith about going to cover, Harvick race or Mears at one of those places, like I said, why don't you go to Bristol? Why don't we go to Bristol and cover something? Send you and Felix out there. He's like, I don't want to deal with the traffic. I don't want to. He's like such an old man. It's ridiculous. What are we doing
big
about
crowds. Well, that's why I left the Laguna Seca race early. I don't want to deal with the crowd either.
All right. Well, let's talk. We'll talk about crowds coming up this weekend here at Kern County Raceway Park. Steve Hughes is here with us. A lot going on. They're back racing this weekend. They got a full schedule of racing, and we'll talk about that with him. And we'll also break down some of the points leaders this weekend as you head into the racing at Kern County Raceway Park. We'll be right back with more here on the Bako Motorsports Power Hour, brought to you by the Bakers of California.